wa ta'ala talks about charity within the Quran, and He states that charity is for those who are close to you. Or we have this statement that charity begins at home. Yes? Charity begins at home. What that really means is that the charity begins with the individual themselves. The truest meaning of charity, of giving, is to the self itself. You see, as individuals, we are X, Y, and Z, but we are also looking vigilantly upon our own selves. When we make a slip, when we fall, we need to be kind to ourselves. This is the meaning of charity begins at home, and we need to give ourselves a second chance at all points, just as Allah gives us a second chance. When we fall, it is Allah's, may Allah forgive me for using this word, it is Allah's duty to pick us up again. When we are defeated, it is our right on Allah that Allah encourages us once again. When we fail, it is Allah's duty that Allah consoles us and sets us on our path once again. It is our right on Allah. Why is it our right on Allah? I will say, oh Allah, why did you create me so weak? If you've created me so weak, then it is my right on you that you supply me with strength. Why did you create me so insecure? If you've created me so insecure, then you should be my factor of confidence and nobody else. Who should I turn to? To my parents who are going to die by tomorrow, who are as insecure as I am? To my fellow community who don't know where they are going, they're as lost as I am? Oh Lord, you have created me in this state. Now it is my right on you, and it is your duty to be at my aid. If I have made a mistake, you have to forgive me. If I have committed a crime, you have to cover it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will find Him doing all that we want from Him. The Prophet has once said, I think to the effect, that Allah is as you want Him to be. If your Lord is all merciful, then He is all merciful. If you have a good opinion of Allah, and in many of these du'as we say, oh Allah, grant me a favorable opinion of yourself. Many of us don't have this ability of giving Allah husnul dhan, a favorable opinion. This is not because Allah is not good, it's because we are like that. We haven't opened up. Now, charity begins at home. It begins with the self. No matter how much we have regressed, we need to give ourselves a second chance at all points. And even when we give ourselves a second chance, we need to look inward and say to ourselves, well, I have made a mistake. Next time round, I will be careful so I don't make a similar mistake. And then commence on the path once again and begin to evolve. Look at the Prophet of Islam and the beautiful way in which he worked with the people. He came to a people who were on the brink of falling into the pits of hell. He looked at those minimum good qualities that were within them, and he worked on that minimum good, and he brought about the best within them. This is how charity works. If I give wealth outwardly, I should know 2 or 3 things here. That first and foremost, I cannot single-handedly alleviate poverty of the world, no matter how much charity I give. And then we are talking about this little earth within the Milky Way, which is not even locatable. Think about the whole of the universe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is going to sustain that and feed that? So the first point is that we are not going to understand how to alleviate poverty. Collectively we can, but individually we can't. So the true charity begins at home. The example that I normally give is that if you have a lighthouse, but it's not tall enough or bright enough, it will direct to a certain radius and certain amount of ship to the shore. But if the lighthouse is tall, it has brilliance of light, abundance of light, and powerful light, it will be able to direct many others the higher it becomes. This is what we're talking about, that if charity is to be applied from within, then the individual becomes more evolved. And as the individual becomes more and more evolved, the productivity of the individual also increases. We need to be forgiving from within to our own selves. The reason we can't let go, we can't let go of the crimes that others have committed upon us is because we are like that. We are limited from within. When we talk about forgiveness, and we made this point a few days ago, forgiveness is the need for the forgiver, not the one that is to be forgiven. When we can't forgive, it is a torment upon ourselves, not on the person who has committed a crime. For the more I hold on to the wrong that has been done to me, the more it is damaging me, not the other person. We need to let go to burst forth and to grow once again. I was, you know, the way we treat the rest of the world with such a lot of contempt. I was in Delhi, and it was time for Asr. Well, the sun was about to set, and I hadn't prayed my Asr. So I told the driver, I said, stop here at this garage. He said, no, this is a Hindu area. They bear extreme amount of hatred towards the Muslim, and there has been distrust between Muslims and Hindus in this area. There is a lot of animosity. I said, no, it's the time and the prayers are going. Stop here. He stopped at the garage. I went there and I said, can I pray here? They said, well, ask the boss. And a man was standing outside. I said, can I do my namaz here? Because they know these words, namaz. He looked at me and he had tears in his eyes. He said, I knew you were going to come today. I said, how? He said, because I counted the money and it was 786. And then I looked at the number plate of a car and it said 786. So I knew you were going to come here. He said, yes, by all means, pray there. Then he rushed and got water for me. Then it was a garage and they used to clean cars. So he opened a new cloth for me. He said, this will be your musalla. I stood there and I prayed and I was overtaken. The way his affection and the way he accommodated me touched me. It touched my heart and it filled me with emotions. As I stood there, raised my hands for the qunut, I was praying for him. I finished my prayers and I went to him. He said, whatever you did when you raised your hand, the dua that you made was accepted. I said, how? He said, because I saw the sun directly appeared out of the clouds and shone on you. I said, but I prayed for you. At that point I was praying for you, that Allah gives you a good life and gives you a good hereafter and does away with all the calamities that may befall upon you. At that point I thought to myself, I said, please listen to this with big hearts and open hearts, yes? Listen to this with open hearts. Judge afterwards. I said, if the same Hindu were to come to my house and ask me that, look, my time is running out, I want to pray, would I be big enough from within to allow him? Would I allow him? And if the answer is in the negative, then who is the bigger human? Me or him? Who is the true worshipper of Allah? Who has cut through all the inner boundaries, me or him? Who amongst us two? And if the Prophet of Islam was here, would he not